Good morning. I hope that you all had a good evening and are ready for a full day of activity and work and data review. So I am looking a little bedraggled perhaps. I've been at CAPE conference all day and it is about 10 o'clock at night. But I wanted to give you some instructions for Assurance of Learning Day and to give you a heads up about the kinds of things that you would be working on today. So first of all, let me walk you through some of the activities that we have planned for today. And so you'll notice on your agenda that I sent you, well, I guess yesterday, and you'll see that we do have lots of things planned, but I wanted to point out a few things for you. So for example, I wanted to point out some of the group discussion group activities. So after this introductory video, then Krista's going to give you a little bit of information about some of the data that I have sent through email, and then we'll have a couple of times where you're broken into groups, and Krista will explain to you which groups you're working with and who's going to be kind of the facilitator for each of those groups. Some of the groups are larger than others. Some of the groups are like 2 people. So we have to spread our faculty pretty thin because several of you work across different groups, and we recognize that, but we couldn't get everybody in every single group in which they should be working. So we did the best we could to split everybody up in appropriate places. So in the morning, you'll be working with your groups to look at a whole slew of data. So I sent you lots of information through email, and you'll want to look through the appropriate data for each of the strategic initiatives that we have for our programs, and you'll see a little bit more about that as you look at some of the other documents that I've sent to you. So you'll have a morning discussion group that's just a brainstorming. Let's look at data. Let's talk about the data. What are we noticing about the data? What problems do we see? What patterns do we see? It really in the morning is just time for you to dig into it, take a look at it, and discuss it. And then I have a note-taking device or a template for your facilitators, your group recorders, to help do that. Then after lunch, and lunch is provided, but after lunch it will be time for you to take what you have done in the morning and transform that into something written, because those strategic initiatives have to have written descriptions in order to put that information on TrackDAT. So that 12:30 to 2 o'clock time in the afternoon will be time for your group to do some collaborative writing in order to prepare for that TrackDAT session. From 2 to 3, the recorders will actually go off with Michelle Goltz, who works with institutional research, specifically with TrackDAT, and she's literally going to walk one group through the process for putting the information on TrackDAT. So if you use the documents that I've sent you, if you'll use those documents, that will prepare you for that afternoon session. For those of you who are not recorders, you will meet in the afternoon for an informal discussion with Diana Porter, who is our QEP liaison, and so we are expected to include the QEP goals, initiatives in our program goals. And so Diana's going to talk with you a little bit about the work of that committee and help you brainstorm how we can do that with our programs. Okay, so for every program that we have in our catalog, we have to document and track that, or we have to track, really, data for each of those programs. So you'll see we have 2 undergraduate programs, and so Cynthia, your group is going to be working on middle and secondary to some extent, but with secondary we really just have to report or provide information for our secondary partners on one initiative, not the entire thing. So those 2 undergraduate groups are going to be working. Then we've got several graduate groups, and again, notice these are all programs and not endorsements necessarily. So that's why you don't see environmental education here. That's why you don't see ESL here. Those are going to fall into the teacher leader with endorsement preparation. So this teacher leader group is going to look at teacher leader data specifically. So the programs are what we are evaluating and working through today. So your recorders are indicated here as well. Okay. So basically what we have seen is that our college has 4 goals, and these are aligned carefully to the university goals, But our college has 4 specific goals: academic excellence, cultural competency, stewardship of place, and experiential education. And with these 4 goals, we were expected in our departments with our programs to really align our program goals to the college goals. So what we are going to do is with the coordinators, I've met with the coordinators and we've talked about strategic initiatives for each of these goals. And so today you're going to review those assessments, those measures, to determine if they're appropriate for the program. Now, we've tried as much as possible to keep undergraduate measures consistent and graduate measures consistent. This will help us, I think, as we pull data, but that's not required. So if your group really feels strongly that something needs to be unique for your program, then by all means, this is your time to determine that. So as you look at your data set for each of our strategic initiatives, and I think that we have 7 strategic initiatives, if I'm remembering correctly, but you're going to discuss whether the data show that the success criteria have been met, and what, if anything, needs to be added to an activity list. So this is just a portion of the document that you have to work from in the morning. So you'll see different things here. So you'll notice that our strategic initiative is here. So this is the first one. So it's 1 because it's academic excellence, and it's A because it's the first under academic excellence. So based upon this strategic initiative, we as coordinators determined what measures would be appropriate for that, the criteria for success, and then what we need to be doing to document or reflect on that. Oh, I see a typo. Sorry about that. But your groups this morning are going to be talking about what conclusions you can draw and what are next steps. Now, your conclusions and your next steps, this is truly just brainstorming area. So you do not have to write in a narrative here. This really is just brainstorming, but the brainstorming is going to help you write in the afternoon. So be specific with the conclusions that you're drawing. What data specifically show you support those conclusions. I've put in red here what data I have sent you that will be helpful to you in determining our success on each of those strategic initiatives. So you'll see as you look through the document for the morning work, you'll see all these little links to or hints about what data will help you make those determinations. Okay. Once the morning stuff is done, then the afternoon time will be spent with a similar document, except now you actually are going to write up your conclusions and what meaningful change is forthcoming, what are the programmatic next steps. So the morning is going to be used for brainstorming, the afternoon is going to be used for really writing up more carefully the information that needs to go on TRACDAT to report at the university level for SACS accreditation what it is that we are demonstrating with our data. You'll notice that there are some areas that we don't have data on. We've just identified them as strategic areas, and so it may be that our conclusions are that we don't have any data yet, but that we are working to be able to document and to ensure that our candidates have exposure to or practice with those particular strategic initiatives. Okay, so after all the brainstorming and the writing has been done, then you'll split into 2 groups. The recorders will go with Michelle to do TRACDAT, and the others will work with Diana and have some discussions with her about metacognition. And then everybody will come back together for a group debriefing, and Krista, of course, will lead this particular discussion. So I want to say thank you for your work. I'm sorry for not being able to be there. It's been really interesting for me to go through the data and to organize it to some degree. I did want to give a shout out to Ashley Speck, who's one of our graduate assistants, as she has done an enormous amount of work in TaskStream and in pulling reports and organizing reports, and so I think that you will find all that information intriguing, if nothing else, but I do think that it's really interesting to see what those data reveal. So big thanks to Ashley and also to Krista, who's worked with me on planning the activities for today and for leading discussions. I do want to tell you too that the the data that you'll be using that comes as a spreadsheet, you are welcome to still sort and manipulate that data. Basically what Ashley and I did for each of those is to ensure that you had averages for Kentucky Teacher Standards particularly, so that you could really look holistically over the program at some of our Kentucky Teacher Standards. So any information that you need from me today, please feel free to email or text. I'll be in sessions, but I'll be watching my phone and my computer to see if there are any things that I need to step out and address with you. So I'm sorry if my video has not made a whole lot of sense. It is pretty late and I'm pretty tired, and so I hope that the information I've given you will be helpful and not more confusing. But anyway, I hope you have a good day, and I actually am going to miss being there. This kind of stuff I think is fun. And so anyway, thanks for your work, and I look forward to seeing the results of it.